He's all about football, and he wants to win. That's his party, is on Sunday on the football field. The guy's got his priorities straight, and you love to see that. And I think that's why he's going to be so successful. The guy wants it. He's bought in. He's driven. He's working hard in the weight room.
Clay Harbor, former Eagles tight end, former Jaguars tight end on the Believe Podcast Network. Clay, how's it going, my man?
Oh, I'm great. I'm out here in Chicago. I know you were talking about that a second ago. It's getting cold, but it couldn't be better.
Is the wind really high right now in Chicago? I know it's been in Philly for the most part.
The wind is always, it seems like it's always at least 15 miles per hour. So I don't know if you guys call that high out there in Philly, but I feel like every day, for some reason, the wind is at least 15 miles per hour whenever you go outside.
I was feeling it on Sunday, Clay, with that whole Eagles-Jaguars where, as a football player, did you enjoy playing in that, that rain, that wind when you were watching that game?
No. And I don't think there's anybody people say they like that, they're lying. I don't like the rain. I don't like the cold. I don't like the snow. I play in it. I'm going to play in it fine. I'm never going to wear sleeves. Always thought that was a man. I don't care if it's snowing and 20 degrees outside. I never wear sleeves, but I did not enjoy it. I would rather it be 70 and sunny. Trust me, those were the better days. And then you go to the other side of the ball, or the other side of it is when it's 100 degrees in training camp in Jacksonville, Florida, or New Orleans, Louisiana, and you're just sweating. So none of those games were fun. You did them, you played hard, and you got through it. But I will say the 70 degrees and sunny were the best days.
Yeah, this is what I thought was funny after the game Sunday. So I'm thinking, okay, should I go see Doug? Should I go to the Eagles locker room? I went to the Eagles locker room. All the players are shivering. A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, Javon Hargrave needed to take a shower. And then I got Trevor Lawrence's transcript, and I kind of wanted to hear him say, "No, I played in that weather before." I'm like, yeah, you played in poured down rain in Florida before. I don't think you played in the rain and the cold. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on how Jacksonville played Sunday.
Well, I mean, you can't go any further than Trevor Lawrence. I'm happy the Eagles got the win, but if you don't win a game when the quarterback fumbles the ball 4 times and throws an interception, any team is going to win that game. If you maybe only have 3 of those turnovers, it could be a different game because those turnovers were big turnovers. And then you got the missed pass to Jamal Agnew, could have put them up 21-3. There was a lot of plays in that game that the Jaguars kind of gave away. Obviously, it says a lot about the Eagles. You got the interception early for Hurts, getting down 14-0, coming back. It really shows that this team can fight and can play from behind, and they didn't get away from their game plan. Sirianni still ran the ball. Miles Sanders, huge day. But I think it comes down to Trevor Lawrence, 5 turnovers. Nobody's going to win a football game when your quarterback turns the ball over 5 times. Say what you will about Doug Peterson's play calling. The Jaguars not stopping the run. Folo Fadakasi left the game early, and as soon as he did, that's when you started seeing a lot of those running lanes open up. And obviously the Eagles did have some backup linemen in as well. But those are some of the things that I saw.
To me, it's the first time I got to see Jacksonville up close, and I watched their first 3 games. I came away impressed with them. I feel like I came away more impressed with the Jaguars, even after that game, just because they did take a 14-0 lead. And look, they were down Zay Jones. The passing game wasn't ideal Sunday, but yet Jacksonville was still in it at the end.
Absolutely. They were still in it. And I don't know why Sirianni went for it on that 4th down. He gave them a chance, gave them the ball. If they would have went down the field and scored 2-point conversion, this game's going to overtime. They were in it to the end, and they are a good team. They got a good defense. They got a good offense. Trevor Lawrence obviously didn't play well. He had the pick. He had the 4 fumbles, and he missed, like I said, when you miss Jamal Agnew right there, the guy was wide open going in the end zone, you go up 21-0. You can't miss that. But the rain had a much bigger effect on them than it did the Eagles. And I'm usually a guy that doesn't like to blame the weather. It's like, hey, what, did it stop raining when the Eagles got the ball? It's like, was this only the Jaguars that had to deal with this weather? Like people talking about when the Bears beat the 49ers in the monsoon, like both teams played in the monsoon, right? I know it's a different type of ball game, but this Jaguars team's for real. James Robinson didn't get as many carries as you would have liked to see as if you're a Jags fan. He's been one of the engines that have driven this team, and Doug kind of stayed away because he's only averaging 3.6 yards a pop against that Eagles defense. We're really shutting them down. They did a great job on Christian Kirk, especially with Darius Slay being out, Avonte Maddox being out. I know you say Zay Jones is out, but overall, that Eagles defense played well. But I think this Jags team's for real. They got some young talent, and they're going to keep getting better.
What are your overall thoughts on the Eagles? I mean, they are the only undefeated team, but it just feels like they find a different player or a different way to beat you every single week.
Absolutely, and this year they have a top 5 wide receiver, and I think that's huge for Jalen Hurts. This guy, A.J. Brown, people are struggling to catch the football. You have to catch it with your body. When it's raining, it's a little bit harder to catch it with your hands. This guy's still reaching out, plucking the ball like it's dry outside. I'm like, what's he got on those gloves? Those gloves get slippery sometimes once the rain starts coming down. A.J. Brown's incredible, and he's going to really pay dividends down the stretch. Obviously, I love this defense. The way T.J. Edwards has been playing is phenomenal for an undrafted free agent from Wisconsin. A guy who's never gotten the respect he's deserved. I really love T.J. Edwards, sideline to sideline, smart player. Hassan Reddick showed up big. I think he's a guy that's going to keep getting better. And I know people say he's just a speed rusher, but he had a couple bull rushes last week and really came up big, especially at the end of that game with that strip sack on Trevor. So this team is set up. You got pass rushers, you got run stoppers, you got good line. When was the last time Eagles had some linebackers like these? Linebackers, defensive backs, and you got weapons on the outside and a strong running game. To me, there's no holes in this roster. This roster, and especially you got Jonathan Gannon calling much better defense. You got Sirianni is doing a good job, and Steichen as well. So I think you got everything working, and this team, in my opinion, is a favorite in the NFC.
Last night when I was watching the Monday Night Football game, and this is kind of a nice segue for you because you play with Tamiko Ryan, and I think he should be an NFL head coach probably as soon as next year. I don't know if the destinations will be as attractive for him, but when you played with him, was he like that cerebral when you were going up against him in practice, or was he like showing you guys stuff like during practices during the week?
Tamiko is just a great dude, man. That guy was awesome guy. He always talking football. He's always talking something about football. If you're in the dining hall and you're eating, most guys are just hanging out, talking about anything. He's talking football. The guy's still talking about something on defense, like Tamiko. Just had meetings. Like, what are you doing? Like, he's just a guy that loves the game. And that's the thing that you really get from Tamiko.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Overall, I don't know how much of the Rams 49ers game you were able to watch last night, but the Rams played the Cowboys this week, and I'm starting to think, hey, you know what? The Cowboys might beat them just because I don't know what to make of this Rams team. Every single week, I keep thinking the Rams are going to turn it on, and they just haven't yet.
They haven't yet. In this NFC, you keep seeing it. Who's the teams? The Buccaneers? No. The Rams not looking good. This NFC East keeps looking better and better. The Giants are somehow 3-1. I'm not saying the Giants are a good team. I just watched that whole game against the Chicago Bears. I rewatched it yesterday. The Giants aren't great, but they're 3-1. Say what you will about them. You are what your record is. Then you got the Cowboys. I think they're better with Dalton Schultz. To tell me I'm wrong, they're not winning games. They're not winning games until Dalton Schultz comes in the game. Dalton Schultz is a solid quarterback. The guy seems to have a knack for winning football games. That's something Dak Prescott wasn't doing. So this NFC East is looking better and better. And obviously then you got the Commanders with our guy Carson Wentz, who are bringing up the rear there. But I think overall, when you look at these NFC teams, the Chiefs just handled the Buccaneers. And the Chiefs' law, I don't get into this team beat that team, that team. The Jaguars beat the Colts 24-0. The Colts beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs just handled the Buccaneers. I mean, it all looks like the Eagles are really alone in a league of their own in the NFC. To me, I don't know who else you can say is even close at this point.
Yeah, one of my overreactions was on Sunday, and I do an overreactions and reality checks piece for CBS Sports. I decided, you know what, I'm going to stir the pot a little bit. Are the Packers the best team in the NFC? And I kind of ripped them to shreds. I said, no, you needed 5 quarters to beat the New England Patriots with a third-string quarterback. I don't know what to make of them either, Clay.
Yeah. The Packers, honestly, I watched the game against the Bears, and I mean, obviously they won that football game, and I watched a few of the Packers games, but they're not the old Packers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same weapons he's had, and obviously Devontae Adams leaving is an issue for him. He's got some young receivers. Allen Lazard's out there playing. You got Christian Watson. But the run game is really going to be what the Packers are this year. Aaron Jones is a good player, and it's just not the same team as we're used to seeing. A lot of these teams, you kind of just see their name. Buccaneers, the Packers, and you just think automatically they're going to be good. But you really got to wipe it all off. And you got to see, okay, what have they shown me this season? And the Packers haven't shown me much. I know they got a 3-1 record, but they haven't shown me that much.
When you were watching that Giants-Bears game Sunday, and I still haven't rewatched it yet, I know Saquon Barkley took a lot of snaps of Wildcat when Daniel Jones had the ankle injury, but how frustrating was that for you just following the Bears, knowing that they just could not stop when Saquon was back there?
The whole thing is frustrating as a Bears fan. You know, growing up a Bears fan has been a frustrating life. But yeah, the defense had trouble stopping. You want to say part of you says, hey, it's Saquon Barkley. Maybe we give these guys a little bit of a break here. But no, he's running the football. It's literally the running back is taking the snaps, and you still can't stop him. Even when they put 9 in the box, then you'd have a rollout with Daniel Jones, and they wouldn't see that coming. So the defense really didn't have a great game at the end there. But the problem in Chicago is the offense, and the offensive line is not giving Fields time to throw. And when Fields does get time to throw on the off chance, I think he's scared, he's spooked because he's surprised that there's not a guy in his face, so he ends up throwing an incompletion interception. So it's just all bad in Chicago right now. The offense is not looking good, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But hopefully the night is darkest before the dawn out here in Chicago.
Yeah, one thing I really got upset with the Bears last week was I know all the talk is Justin Fields and his lack of development, but you're also hurting Darnell Mooney. I mean, he came into Sunday's game with 27 yards receiving. To me, that is just unacceptable for a player that good.
Yeah, Mooney has really he had a good game on Sunday. He had 95 yards. He finally got the ball a little bit there, but overall, Mooney's dropped some passes, though. His routes haven't been that crisp. And it's, him and Fields, if you look back to last season, they didn't really have that connection. The 6 games that Nick Foles and Andy Dalton played, Darnell Mooney had over half of his receiving yards in only those 6 games. So you look at really where he got his yards from last year. A lot of it was from Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. Him and Justin Fields have never really had that connection. People automatically assume that it was him and Fields that had that connection. He had over 1,000 yards last year, but when you really break down the games, the guys that were getting him the ball were Nick Foles on the 2 weeks he started, and Andy Dalton on the 4 weeks he started. So that's something that's interesting. So him and Fields have never really been on the same page. And this week? Yeah, he had a good game this week, and he's obviously, I've always wanted to say he's a number 1 receiver, but I'll be honest, he doesn't look like it right now.
What do you think is the main issue with Justin Fields?
Main issue is he is inaccurate, and he holds the ball a little bit long. And when you have a bad offensive line and you hold the ball just a little bit long, that compounds it, makes it worse. You got to get rid of the ball faster. And for the type of quarterback he is, that makes it extremely difficult. This offensive line, the Bears center is basically a hologram. The guys are just running through him like he's not even there. It's crazy. He just runs pressure in your face. There's pressure around the edge. You can step up sometimes. Fields is getting pressure around the edge, and he's getting pressure in his face. And that's when you start to get spooked and you see his feet. He's got the happy feet and he doesn't know what to do. And when he sees an open guy, he's not hitting him. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to no, the offensive line is below average. It's not great. I don't think it's the worst in the league. They're a good run blocking offensive line, very poor pass pro. And then on the flip side of that, receivers aren't getting open. Dante Pettis, who's that? Who's Dante Pettis? You got Darnell Mooney, yes, but then you got Byron Pringle, you got Velus Jones. Like, who are these guys? And these guys aren't getting open. And it's sad to see because you want to see Fields be successful. He's a hardworking guy. But the receivers, I broke down this game, the entire game, receivers aren't getting open. Offensive line is not blocking. And last week, you didn't have to say that. Last week against Houston, Fields made some poor throws. There were some guys open. This week, it's the opposite story. No blocking, nobody's open.
Yeah. I know you said 3-1's 3-1, but when I did watch some of the highlights of that game, to me, what frustrated me was maybe it's because I am a special teams guy. When Velus Jones basically muffed that punt. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I want to hear from Giants fans. Like, this Bears team just isn't good. And I don't want to write off a win in the NFL, but it's not like you're 3-1 and you're beating these world beaters here. You're beating the Chicago Bears. You're beating the see, I forget who they beat. Tennessee looked like a decent win, but
Texans,
yeah,
Houston Texans and the Bears.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Bears are 2-2 though. I mean, say what we want, they have a better record than the Washington Commanders right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't think the Giants are for real. Watching Daniel Jones, he's in a tough situation too. They protected him pretty well, but Evan Neal's been struggling bad. He's been struggling, but of course against the Bears, Robert Quinn isn't even getting close to the quarterback somehow. But Neal's been struggling. He's graded on Pro Football Focus as one of the worst offensive tackles in the entire league, the bottom 5. Sterling Shepard's out. He has nobody to throw the ball to. He's got a worse wide receiver core, I think, than the Chicago Bears. And trust me, that's hard to do. Kenny Galloway can't catch. He's playing hot potato. He can't catch a football. And even going against Kyler Gordon, who's everybody's just attacking him, just treating him like a redheaded stepchild, man. They're just treating Kyler Gordon bad. The guy has not looked good for the Bears, their second-round draft pick. But the defense looked okay. I know they're coming in the game. They were 25th against the run. They really shut down a Bears running game that was good. And they had over 100 yards, but that was with all the field scrambles. Khalil Herbert didn't have a big game. I know they're missing David Montgomery. But the Giants, with Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, I just don't see them posing a threat to the Philadelphia Eagles after watching both those games back-to-back. You get a good team out there like the Eagles, I think it's going to get ugly fast.
Since you brought it up, who is the Eagles' biggest threat right now?
Honestly, I think it is the Cowboys. If there was a threat in the division, it would have to be the Cowboys because they do have some players there, and Dalton Schultz can play. You got CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Rush is playing. When Dak comes back, maybe Dak gets back to his last couple of years of quarterback, and so I think Dallas is probably the biggest threat. And overall NFC, I mean, you still got to look at Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they got Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And, I mean, with those two guys, you can't count them out. You look at the careers they've had and the level of quarterback they play, and it's if you count them out historically, you've been wrong. I know they're not looking great. Packers 3-1, Buccaneers 2-2, but Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to go further than that.
All 4 NFC West teams are 2-2. Do we still think the Rams come out of that, or are we starting to believe in maybe the 49ers, maybe the Cardinals, heck, even the Seahawks at this point?
I think the best thing that happened to the 49ers, and, I don't want to sound like a bad guy, but was Trey Lance getting hurt. Trey Lance wasn't ready. Trey Lance, I know he didn't get much time, but watching that first game against the Bears and the little bit of the second game he played, and then you're seeing all over the news this guy loses to the Bears, lands a plane, then he's at a strip club all night. Like, that's not something you want to see your starting quarterback do. And I think the best thing that happened for the 49ers for this season is Jimmy Garoppolo being their starting quarterback. He was the best quarterback in San Francisco. He's taken them to the Super Bowl. He's taken them to the NFC Championship game. And I think there's a chance that he can get them back there again. As far as the Rams, I think Allen Robinson has been pretty disappointing after seeing with the Bears. I thought he would have a very successful year. The guy's a meticulous worker. He's a great route runner. I just don't think he's ever had great hands. I played with the A-Rob in Jacksonville, and he was never a strong hands catcher with a ton of talent. He caught everything with his body, wasn't great run after catch, but he's a big body and he's a meticulous worker when it comes to running routes. So I thought he would do better over there. And obviously you got Cooper Kupp, who is headlining my fantasy football team. Didn't have a big game for me last night when I needed him. I let it slide, Cooper. I feel like you've done a good job so far, but I don't know if they're the favorites anymore, but they're the defending Super Bowl champions, so we got to give them more time.
Since you played tight end in the NFL, I got to ask you, who – and probably because Tony Gonzalez brought this up last week. He said Dallas Goedert is the best tight end in football right now. Right now. He didn't say overall. He said right now. I want to know, how would you rank Dallas Goedert? How would you rank him amongst the best tight ends?
Here's the thing about Dallas Goedert. Is he a better receiver than Travis Kelce? No. Travis Kelce is one of a kind, maybe not even Mark Andrews, but Dallas Goedert is right after those guys as a receiver. But as a blocker, he's better than both of them. When I look at a tight end, I look at both things. Can you block and can you catch passes? Travis Kelce don't block anybody no more. He doesn't need to. He's Travis Kelce. He might throw a shoulder in there. He might, do a little chip or something, but he's not a hard-nosed blocker, and Dallas Goedert is. That's why I like Dallas Goedert so much. I think I said since beginning of the year, I said this guy's going to be a top 5 tight end this year. I think he is a top 5 tight end. Look at the numbers from last year. He's on pace for over 1,000 yards this year. I think he'll get that easily. I think he'll even get more than 1,000. I think he might get like 1,200 yards to tight end and block the way he blocks. I think this sets Dallas Goedert apart is he can run block. You can run to him. Most of the time you got a tight end in the game, you got to run away from him because he can't take on a defensive end or an outside linebacker. Dallas Goedert can, and that sets up play action passes for him. Him being able to block opens up a whole nother level of the game plan for a guy like Goedert. You don't have to do what the Jaguars do. So you see what they're doing. They got Evan Ingram, but then they're bringing in Chris Manhertz to block. Then they're bringing in Dan Arnold for the move stuff. Then they're bringing in Luke Farrell for some of the fullback stuff. So you got this whole committee at tight ends, and that leads to tendencies, and you only got the playbook open for these amount of plays. Trust me, that's the type of tight end they had me doing. I thought I could do everything, but they made me run into these little roles. You're doing the fullback, the move tight end stuff. Dallas Goedert does it all. He doesn't have to leave the field. So you can play action to him, and the defense is going to buy it. The linebackers are going to believe it. They're going to suck up things behind this defense. Are the safeties going to worry about him? No. Guess what? You got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith blowing off the top, and then Dallas Goedert's going to be over the middle of the field. So I think Dallas Goedert, with all that, is one of the best tight ends in the league.
I used to joke when you played for the Eagles, I'm like, man, Clay Harbor will be a Pro Bowl tight end if Nick Foles is his quarterback the entire time. And, overall, though, how was playing with Nick Foles?
Nick Foles is an unbelievable guy. I love playing with Nick Foles. Went out with him to Texas a couple of times just to hang out. We were buddies. And no harder worker than Nick Foles. This guy would spend hours, and I know it's cliche and you hear it. He spent hours in the film room. This guy, the one story I tell, people ask me about Nick Foles. It was a Friday practice. We used to call them Fast Fridays. Brent Selleck would have, my old tight end mate, would have barbecues over at his house. He would have a personal chef make a ton of meals for people. And so we'd go over to Brent's house, and we'd all eat and hang out, and Dornbos would be doing magic. We'd have the whole crew there. We're all hanging out and whatever. One week I left my iPad at the tight end room to download some plays because the Wi-Fi was down at my apartment, because I wanted to go to Selleck's, go home for a minute, grab my iPad, and I'd watch some plays before I go to bed, come back for practice in the morning. We're traveling. I go to Selleck's for a couple hours. I go home for another hour after that. After practice, I come back to the tight end room. Open the door. Nick Foles is still in the tight end room. He's got the film going. He's got every coverage drawn up on the whiteboard that the opponent's playing. This is 3.5 hours after practice. Everybody's gone. Nobody in the building. I go, Nick, what are you doing, man? I just wanted to make sure that I got the plays just in case. I go, Nick, you're not going to play. You're a backup quarterback this week. He is doing all that on a week when Michael Vick was our starting quarterback. So that's the kind of guy Foles is. Hours in the film room on a week he's not even starting. So he's an impressive dude, hard worker. I'll always pull for Nick Foles, one of the best guys around.
Now, how does Nick Foles compare to work ethic-wise to Jalen Hurts? To me, they kind of feel like the same guy just with their preparation and how they, just week in and week out. It feels like there's no stone unturned with those two.
Oh, yeah, I've never got to experience, obviously, the Jalen Hurts work ethic, but I've heard about it. I've got some buddies on that team still, and he's a guy that they love to follow. He's a hard worker. He's not going out and partying and doing the things like that you see some of these young quarterbacks like Trey Lance, Justin Fields doing. He's all about football, and he wants to win. That's his party, is on Sunday on the football field. The guy's got his priorities straight, and you love to see that. And I think that's why he's going to be so successful. The guy wants it. He's bought in. He's driven. He's working hard in the weight room. And you hear that when I went to camp this summer over there at the NovaCare complex, and I'm like, oh, who's this new tight end the Eagles got? I can't really see. Gets a little closer. That's not a tight end. That's Jalen Hurts. I go, man, that guy is ripped. That guy's bigger than me. This guy's Jalen Hurts is fit. He's in shape. He puts the work in the weight room. He puts the work into the film room. That's the guy you want leading your team.
Clay, once again, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to have to get you on again because all these NFC East teams play the Jaguars. They play the Bears this year. Love hearing your insight. And to me, you're an answer to a trivia question. Who caught the Eagles' last walk-off touchdown?
Oh, man, was that it?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh, nice.
It's Tampa Bay. It's funny. I watched that game. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I love watching old Eagles games. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Clay Harbor caught that pass. It's crazy, man. I'll tell you what. Football is a fun sport. It's just to see it evolve and just everything else. But, man, I'll tell you, I really appreciate you coming on. I really do.
Appreciate you having me, Jeff. Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for coming on, Clay.